Welcome to our fourth and final installment on junk silver. This time we're dealing with silver dollars. If you like these videos, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up so I know that you like videos like this, and I'll kick more of them out there for you. Stick around to the very end of this video. I'll show you how you can win some free silver to put in your stack. The flowing hair dollar was the first dollar coin issued by the United States. It was designed by Robert Scott, minted between 1794 and 1795, containing 89.24% silver. Total mintage on this was 162,053. Now, this dollar was only minted for 2 years. In 1794, only 1,758 were made. In 1795, 160,295 were minted, although 5,000 to 6,000 reported for 1795 could have been dated 1794. It's not junk silver by any means, unless you're dealing with extremely damaged or slick coin. But it was our first dollar coin, so I thought I'd bring it up in here. The Draped bust dollar, like the flowing hair dollar before it, was designed by Robert Scott. 89.2% copper. It was minted between 1795 and 1803. Total mintage was 1,284,143. The lowest mintage was in 1797, was 7,776. And the highest mintage, 1799, with 423,515. Now, the 1795 to 1798 had the small eagle reverse, and the 1798 to 1804 had the heraldic eagle reverse on this. Great coin. Unless it's beat up or slick, it's not junk silver either, but it's great history. Speaking of history, let's take a look at the very rare and very famous 1804 dollar. Almost every coin minted in the U.S. has examples that were struck in a year other than which it bears. The 1804 dollar coin is a prime example. No dollars bearing the date 1804 were minted in 1804. This is unknown to mint officials at the time the 1804 dollar came to be. The 1804 silver dollar was actually minted in 1836. As a gift to Asia in exchange for trade accommodations. Only 15 silver dollars bearing the date 1804 are known to exist. This is not junk silver, guys. Not junk. The seated Liberty dollar, minted from 1840 to 1873, designed by Christian Gobrecht, 90% silver, 10% copper with a reeded edge. It was minted in New Orleans, San Francisco, Carson City, and Philadelphia. In 1866, In God We Trust was added to the coin for the first time. Total mintage of these were 6,487,747. The highest mintage was the 1872 P, 1,105,500. And in 1852, there was only 1,100 minted. In 1870 S, 12 coins issued reportedly. And in 1873, reported mintage of only 700. Some of the key dates in this is 1866 with no motto on it, No In God We Trust. Only 2 of them are known. In the 1870 S, only 12 of these are known. Great dollar. The Gobrecht dollar, designed by Christian Gobrecht. The Liberty seated was created by Thomas Selly. Some of the 1836s were 89.2% silver, 10.8% copper. The rest were 90% silver, 10% copper. After a small number were minted in 1836, there were many complaints about the placement of Gobrecht's name on the coin. After the legal standard for the percentage of silver in coins from 89.2% to 90% silver, the design was modified and his name was placed in a less conspicuous position. All were struck in proof finishes, and there was only 1,900 of these made. The trade dollar was minted between 1873 and 1885. 90% silver, 10% copper with reeded edges. It was designed by William Barber and minted at Philadelphia, Carson City, and San Francisco. The trade dollar was created to compete with the Mexican peso in the Orient. At 420 grains, it was 1.8% heavier than the standard dollar. It was intended for export only for trade with Asia, but they were legal tender in the United States. In 1887, the law authorizing the trade dollar was repealed. The Treasury redeemed all non-mutilated pieces, melted down most of them. After 1878, production was suspended except for the proofs. Just 10 were made in 1884 and 5 in 1885. The 1878 Carson City was the final issue. Only 97,000 were struck, many of which are believed to have been melted down as well. Fewer than 36 million of these were minted. The Mogan dollar, a favorite of stackers the world over. These were designed by George Thomas Mogan, 90% silver, 10% copper with a reeded edge. Minted between 1878 and 1904, then again in 1921. Then they started up again in 2021 as a collectible with coins that have 0.999% fine silver in them. Minted at Philadelphia, Carson City, San Francisco, New Orleans, and Denver. There were over 657 million of these minted, but hundreds of millions were melted down over the years by the government thanks to the Pittman Act and the Silver Act in 1942. The lowest mintage was in 1895 with only 12,000 minted, and the highest mintage was in 1921 where 86,730,000 were minted. These are heavily counterfeited. People are trying to pass off fake Morgans all the time. Keep your eyes open. Do your due diligence. The peace dollar, designed by Anthony D. Francisci. On a side note here, his wife was the model for the Liberty Goddess on the coin. It was minted between 1921 and 1928, and then again in 1934 through 1935. It was brought back in 2021 for collectors to the mint at 0.999% fine silver. Total mintage on these was 191,607,214. The highest mintage was the 1922 Philadelphia with 551,737,000. There's a low mintage 1928 P, only 360,649 were minted, but lower still was the 1922 high relief, where only 35,401 were minted. Now these aren't counterfeited as much as the Morgan dollars, but here's a strange story. The 1964 peace dollar. On August 3rd, 1964, Congress authorized the minting of 45 million new silver dollars. Denver minted 316,076 of these peace dollars with the 1964 date, and a design identical to the peace dollars minted from 1921 through 1935. Shortly after, an order went out to destroy them. The Treasury Department claims every one was accounted for and melted down. There have been a few 1964s pop up, but they turned out to be overstamped 1965s. Keep your eyes open for these. They're non-existent. The Eisenhower dollar, or the Ike dollar, was designed by Frank Gaspario. It's only 40% silver, but only in certain years and with certain mint marks. It was actually okayed in 1970 by President Nixon. He authorized the coin after Ike's death. Strangely enough, Nixon was President Eisenhower's vice president. In 1971, S is 40% silver, 6,868,530 were minted. 1972 S, 2,193,056 were minted. 1973 S, 1,883,140 were minted. 1974 S, 1,900,156 were minted. And in 1976, an estimated 5 million were minted. 40% silver, falling a little below what we call junk silver, more into what I call trash silver, but that's another video. That concludes our last in the series of junk silver. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe we were entertained a bit, perhaps learned a thing or two. Thanks for watching. Check out how you can win some free silver at the end of this video.